What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology, the Titans action, spawning in the top of the map in the red color, playing as Set. His name is the Mista, because he's got an extra A, so we have to make that longer. His opponent today in the blue color, also playing as Set. His name is AOL Berserker. The map is Alfheim, and this matchup was played in 2013. So we are currently on no patch. No patch, and we do see a cheeky Pharaoh push here with Mista's Hyena of Set to allow Mista to get access to these wolves and pushing Berserker back. Big win at the very start of the game now for Mista. Mista's also found his deer here. Berserker over here has also found his deer. If you don't know these guys, let's talk a little bit about this. I think Mista needs no introduction, but Mista, one of the strongest Age of Mythology, Age of Empires players to have ever played the game. He was at the top of Age of Mythology, top of Age of Empires Online, and the top of Age of Empires 4. That's 3 games. That's a lot more than a lot of players can actually say. Like Viper, for example, the Viper, only really top of Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 4. Never really got to the top of any other Age of Empires game. So Mista has got that going for himself, even though Viper did beat him, right? Anyways, on the other side, we do have a Canadian player here. Berserker was one of the strongest Nilla players. That is the original Age of Mythology, one of the strongest original Age of Mythology players, learnt on vanilla and transitioned over to the Titans and became one of the strongest Titans players as well for that period. Very strong player. Also a ridiculously good deathmatch player. So he has a very unique kit. In fact, his kit is very similar to Magic's kit, and it's funny to say that because Magic is also a Canadian. So maybe these guys hung out and swapped stories about how to win Age of Mythology games. But Berserker is the late game beast. Mista is the strategic beast, the mechanics beast. He's got all of that going for himself. So we'll see what's going to happen in this game, and I expect fireworks here. Set Mirror, back in 2013, 2 of the strongest players to have ever played the game going at it, and a lot of fun to be sure. We do see villagers already making their way over onto these caribou for Mista. Chucking up his temple now. He's going to be looking to probably go up for about 430. If we check out Berserker, Berserker is chucking up his temple, getting his houses down, everything else. I don't see any monument just yet, and it is looking like a fairly similar build here from Berserker. Obviously, the hyper-modern kind of style that everyone plays in nowadays, and maybe not even everyone plays, but everyone should be playing in nowadays, isn't going to be exactly what we're going to see here, as we are currently seeing a whole bunch of wolves out for Mista as he's pushing Berserker back yet again, making it very tough for Berserker to get any conversions here with his priest. This doesn't matter that much. There's not a lot of food on the map. 1 town center fast heroic here is probably the go. We do see Berserker struggling to get that food income. In fact, he probably could cut that villager in advance. He does do that, going up for the 430. Mista, on the other hand, is going 1 extra villager, or maybe he had some idle villager time here and he's actually also going for a 430. That's kind of what it looks like. There's the task. So both players a little bit scuffed on the build, just because of the way the map spawned, having to move forward to these forward deer and not having your elk spotted at the start can be a big problem, as we are seeing. There's the wolf checking this out, sees 2 elk. A little bit unfortunate to only see 2 elk, but now the 3rd elk comes in, so Mista's going to know that there's at least 3 here. There are, in fact, 4, so we'll see what he's going to be able to make, see what he will make happen here on that location. We do see Mista with still a lot of villagers on food, which means only 5 villagers on gold is going to mean a fast heroic here from Mista. Berserker, on the other hand, he's got 6 villagers on gold and the rest on food, 2 villagers on wood. So this also indicates 1 town center fast heroic, a very different style to what we're used to in the current meta. Because normally what would happen here is both players would probably grab a fast second town center, and because Mista has won the early game so hard with animals, he could very easily move forward and grab this and be fine. What is that? What is that? Berserker is going crazy mode. He's thrown down a barracks here in an Egyptian war in an effort to get some sort of advantage back over Mista. So Berserker getting himself a barracks. We'll see what he's going to go. I imagine he's just going to build some spearmen out of this and go for a couple of raids. We do see the units now moving forward here. We've got a second barracks now coming down for Berserker. Mista, on the other hand, he's thrown up his armory. No barracks whatsoever. And Mista is moving forward. We do see a retaliation here from Berserker, but he is getting pushed back and forth here from the animal army of Mista. He doesn't want to commit just yet. Waiting for a couple more of those spearmen here. There is still quite a bit of food left here for Berserker, so he doesn't have to worry too much about having to farm before he gets to the heroic age, but he will have to be careful because he's going to be in a difficult position given chariot archers are going to be coming out for Mista very, very soon. So Mista's now sneaking around the side of the map here, going to be looking to get some damage done. This watchtower's already here, but there is a stray elk sitting out here, which Mista might be able to hit and hurt just a little bit, but right now, very, very even for these two players as Mista is now very close to the next age. The problem for Mista is no husbandry. No husbandry on cows. Now, I don't mind not going for husbandry. Just jump onto the berries and onto the chicken first and wait until you get husbandry for those cows. Because these berries and the cows gather at exactly the same rate-ish. It's very, very close, if any difference at all. So definitely don't jump onto the cows until you have husbandry. And Berserker, he doesn't have husbandry either. And this might be something that's been more realized recently than back then, when in that husbandry was just such a really important technology to grab when you're on the cows, but not what's happening here in this game. We do have Mista. He's ready to advance to the next age. He is going up through Nephthys. Berserker, on the other hand, he is still pumping out those spearmen, not going to the next age now, throwing up the armory. Has got a bunch of units now out. He's gone for 4 spearmen, trying to push forward. You can definitely get away with a kind of 4 spearmen, 5 spearmen build into a semi-fast heroic, and it's going to be completely fine. Allows you to get some map control. But on a map like Alfheim, where all the hunt's gone, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we'll see how it's going to go, but I'm not 100% sure about it, but it is allowing Berserker a little bit of time to move forward. And I think what Berserker is going to try and do here is get security of all 4 of these town centers. Given this is a 2013 map, that comes from the 2003 maps, or 2004, when was Age of Times released? Not 100% sure, but 2004 maps, because there wasn't really any updates to the maps, and Ensemble Studios map scripts just weren't the best. I mean, you could kind of compare them to what Age of Empires 4 maps look like, and they are a gem. But nonetheless, we do have a bit of a nightmare here for Mista on his town centers. We are starting to see some priests getting built now for Berserker, as he's still pumping out these villages onto food still. Now he's got the husbandry, so these villages will be gathering fairly quickly over here. We see another lumber camp coming down for Berserker. What is Mista doing, though? Mista's now getting up the Migdol stronghold. Still 1 town center here. These priests all just chilling on this location. We'll see this Migdol up very, very soon. This villager now trying to get up the granary. Siege works now coming down for Mista, as he's trying to work out what to do here. This wall is now finished over on this location. Hand axe does come through for Mista as well. He's going to be starting to spam out those chariot archers, those not cheap chariot archers, but fast building chariot archers. For set, these take 6 seconds. 6 seconds to train, is that right? It's something like 20% reduction in training time on those chariot archers. So it's actually quite a lot. So if you've got 10 seconds to build a chariot archer, it reduces it by 2 seconds. And the slingers are also reduced by quite a bit as well. But now we're going to be seeing Mista pushing forward. Going to actually spot this villager who's throwing up a mining camp. We'll see if Berserker's going to notice this or not. Looks like he hasn't noticed it just yet. And Nephthys is on the way. So still going to be a fairly late advance here from Berserker. He will actually have to retreat back to his base. He's got easy security of this gold mine. These walls are now just about to come up for Berserker. So Berserker just a little bit ahead of his time right now, getting those walls up early rather than later to kind of sort this all out. And that's going to really shut Mista's raiding abilities down. And there's not a lot that he can really attack. We do see this villager coming back over here onto this gold mine. I would like to see a wall here for Berserker in order to just prevent those chariot archers from getting through. And then also a wall over here in order to set that trade up as you're going to the heroic age. And so you get that market up immediately. But Berserker, not quite enough resources to get his Migdol stronghold up right away. He just needs a little bit more gold in the bank. You only need 300 gold for Set. So Set does have that cheaper thingamajiggy. We do see the cheaper Migdol. We do see that Scorpion Man getting sniped down here. Nice play. Shifting Sands coming in by Mista here, and Berserker going to counter said Shifting Sands with his own Shifting Sands. Mista casting his ancestors here. There are so many priests here though for Berserker, and he's going to be able to snipe these down very, very easily. Meanwhile, the ancestors come down for Berserker, but Mista's already got out 4 priests plus the Pharaoh, who's going to be doing the brunt of the legwork here. If you see that minion just get absolutely smashed, one of those priests actually managed to convert an animal in that fight. Can you actually believe that, ladies and gentlemen? But Berserker holds absolutely beautifully here, and Mista is getting pushed back. Berserker in a fantastic position. What he needs to think about doing now is simply stop building units, get himself 3 town centers, and just sit on that advantage he's just got. He's got a whole bunch of units out that can hold any sort of siege tower push, and it's going to be fine. But we are seeing essentially just Barracks army here for Berserker. Mista going for the Migdol army. So a very, very different style here from both players. If we check out the economic upgrades now for Mista, he's got himself hand axe, he's got himself pickaxe. And we also see the economic upgrades for Berserker, who's also got the same. So both players in a very similar position. Berserker will be struggling a little bit for his food very soon. He's got 8 villages currently on the berries. So we should be seeing Shadoof coming through fairly soon as well for Mista. So they will have to be spending a little bit of food, or gold, I should say, on those farms to get some more food. And now we're seeing that second town center coming down for Mista. And this is something Berserker should have been doing immediately, because the question really is now, what can Berserker do with this army? That's always a question I ask myself when I start spamming units. What can I do with my army? If the answer is not a lot, in that I can't attack my opponent, then the next question is, do I need army to defend anything? And the answer there is probably not. With a town center up right here, a couple of spearmen out. If this siege tower comes in, you just garrison the spearmen, you take out the siege tower, and you make some mercenary. Completely fine. Nice snipe there from Mista onto the Wadjet, though. Berserker going to be pulling back. He still has a bit of a difficult time ahead of himself, even though he does have kind of counter army for those chariot archers here. And we'll see Mista pulling back as he's realizing not really much need to push forward now. He can sit on this 2-town center advantage that he has and just get further and further in front, but he's not currently building villages from this town center just yet, so he's not actually taking advantage of that in the slightest. We do see these chariot archers going to be running forward. They are not fast enough to dodge slingers. Slingers only have a track rating of 5, but the chariot archers only move at 5 speed, so he can't really run past them like with the Ra chariot archers. Now we're seeing some villagers moving forward for Mista here. He's going to be attempting to drop some sort of something on this location. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mista throwing just a Migdol stronghold up here as the Slinger is going to be moving forward. Generally speaking, the chariot archers beat the Slingers out by hit and run. If the chariots push in, they shoot a volley at the slingers. They push back and they rinse and repeat. You get free damage on the slingers. The slingers are not going to be able to really do anything against the chariot archers, and you live in a lot of pain. We do see these Migdol stronghold is still going up. The siege tower is moving forward. I wouldn't mind seeing these wooden walls deleted here to give a little bit more surface area for the units of Berserker to get in here, but he's not doing it. Those slingers here need to be microed. The whole reason you build slingers is micro. The priests need to get onto that Wadjet, as they do manage to do that, and that Wadjet will be falling there instantly. The Migdol stronghold is shut down. We do see Mista picking up this relic over here. It is the Anvil of Hephaestus. That's going to be absolutely huge. We see a second town center now finally coming up for Berserker. So Mista in a big, big advantage right now. Do we see Shadoof coming through? Not just yet. He's out of food just about. He's got a couple more cows left in his base, but he's basically just going for a full chariot archer army here. And the question really is here, can Berserker push through this or not against the full chariot archer army with the slingers? So when you see this, really the answer is with the slingers is to simply just push forward and just push forward and just push forward. You cannot really be retreating. You do have siege towers which you can garrison into, so if you do have to retreat, garrison into the siege towers, and that's going to prevent those chariot archers from doing all too much damage. Now we see Mista getting himself up another town, another Migdol here. If we check out his space over here, he's got some decent markets placed up in the top corner, ready to start making camel caravans. But in the mirror matchup, if you can get to the Mythic Age before starting trade, that is generally better in the mirror matchup. So just be aware of that when you do see the opportunity to start trade. If your opponent knows how to play the matchup, he's probably going to hit you with a mythic timing. You're probably going to be in a very difficult position, even with the extra economy, because those camel caravans cost a lot and do take a little bit to pay back. Now we see the wall getting targeted down over here by Mista, who's trying to push in onto this town center. There's already 12 villagers over on this location, so Mista's not going to actually move in there just yet, but take the gate down, leave this location. We see the slingers trying to push forward. There's the medium slingers coming in. 16 range for them is just not that much, but he is going to be able to start targeting down these chariot archers very, very nicely. He's trying to get in. Nice snipe there by Mista with the priest to take down that scorpion man. And now we've got Mista actually starting to make some mercenary cavalry here. A little bit early on these. These cost a lot. Still no farms up for Mista. We finally see husbandry coming through for Mista. He doesn't have plow just yet. He's looking to get that fairly soon, I'm sure. But at this point, he's just happy to push through. He's got those mercenary cavalry to make a whole bunch of damage here. And we'll see if Mista can make any ground here in this game. We currently have no answer for siege towers. It's just siege towers versus siege towers here. And these slingers are going to keep attempting to move forward onto the chariot archers. And you do have quite a few of them here. If we check out what's going on, we've got 10 slingers in on this fight right now. We check this out, 12 slingers. So we should be able to make mincemeat of these chariot archers. And that's pretty much what Berserker is doing here. And Mista has to pull back. And like I said, you have to keep going with the shoot and scoot and get in, get out onto those slingers. If the slingers actually get onto your chariot archers, you actually hard lose. So you have to be very, very careful about that. A very interesting decision by Berserker to chuck a lumber camp down on one lone forest there, but he did it. He did it, and we'll see if that'll get him anything. Currently has idle villagers, and he'll have to sort that one out right now. Not many villagers currently gathering for Berserker at all. Only 34 villagers compared to Mista, who's got a ton. He's almost got 30 villagers just on gold alone. He's got 31 villagers on food and wood. Nearly 60 villagers gathering for him, so he's got a big advantage. The problem for Mista is how is he going to secure this town center? And I think the answer is quite simply don't. Just go Mythic Age. Just go Mythic Age here. Tornado this town center and shift over onto this location while your opponent is stuck here with these slow units. Your Tornado comes in, you push in, you start making some slingers, spearmen and all that other good stuff. We are still seeing more mercenary cavalry getting built by Mista as another Migdol stronghold is coming up for Mista. We'll see if Mista wants to swing around with these with these siege towers or not. Meanwhile, we do have a chariot archer raid coming in by Mista. He's found a gap in the walls of Berserker as he is going to be checking down the bottom of the map to see this this location here. And if we jump over to Berserker's perspective, Berserker will be spotting these chariot archers, but will he actually see it or not is the question. We did see one chariot archer does fall to the town center. The villagers will be getting pulled off of this gold mine, going to be making their way up onto this gold mine over here. And this is a very, very good distraction by Mista, but what is he really going to be able to get out of it? I don't think he's going to be able to get this town center. Mista now getting very close to the next age. Let's see his economic upgrades. Now he's got plow. Now he's got husbandry. He needs to start thinking about that irrigation. These upgrades that I'm talking about did take quite a while to realize how good specific upgrades were, but it looks as if both players, no, Berserker doesn't have his shaft mine, but Mista does. So Mista kind of knew how good shaft mine was back in 2013. But did not know how good that irrigation was in 2013. As now the slingers are going to be pushing forward here, going to try and get onto these chariot archers in the back. The siege towers are duking it out in the middle here. There's more siege towers for Berserker as Berserker is able to pick off one of those villages here. Still have to keep microing these slingers if he wants to do well on this location. We do see the villagers are still a lot, will have been maybe killed, maybe not, but the chariot archers have been cleaned up here as Berserker is managing to make a very, very nice push here. But mercenary cavalry coming through for Mista. Is he going to the next age? I don't see him going through the next age. Still throwing down more farms here. Still trying to pump out those chariot archers. He's now going in for elephants. War elephants coming out for Mista. We'll see if those will work for him. Still no irrigation, and we don't see it coming through at all for Mista. Berserker, on the other hand, what are his economic upgrades? Still no irrigation, no shaft mine. I don't care about any other economic upgrades. It's just those two that we need to see come through if you want a big boost to your economy. But right now, Berserker doing fantastic. Just about to get himself that third town center. He's going to have a big big advantage from that right now, as we'll see how this is all going to go. We've got the War Elephants trying to push through here. They're going to tank so much. There is no good counter to War Elephants in the Heroic Age 4 set. You can make Heavy Spearmen, but they're just not that great. You can make Cavalry, but they're just not that great. And Mista is making a very, very good observation right now that there's so many priests here. These priests do basically 1 damage to the War Elephant a shot, which is just very much not any damage at all, and he's going to be able to keep pushing through here and soaking so much. More Mercenary Cavalry coming in, and these are the pre-nerfed Mercenary Cavalry from 1.03, so they build in 2 seconds, in 3 seconds, maybe less, build in 1 second probably. They have 40% hack armor, 44% pierce armor unupgraded, so they just tank for days. Compare that to the War Elephant, who doesn't even have 40% hack armor. He's got 40% pierce armor, but just not that much. But Mista is able to make this push work very, very nicely. Berserker currently 107 of 145 population. Mista is 118 of 140 population, currently making Chariot Archers and War Elephants to make this push work here. Plus the Mercenary doing very, very nicely. We see villagers pulled off of the gold mine now, going to be going after Mista's siege towers here, but still no real answer for these War Elephants. The villagers going to be helping out as best as they can. We see the Pharaoh getting sniped. Nice play there by Berserker to realize how important it is to take that one down. Meanwhile, as we're seeing this game, Mista is completely spread out all over the map. You can see he's got a siege works over this location. Villagers over here. Villagers moving forward onto this gold mine as well. He has very, very good line of sight of the map as he is able to now take down the siege workshop here, as Berserker is falling victim to this brutal push that Mista is putting into him. It's currently 3 town centers for Berserker though, so Berserker does need to just get those villagers out. He's currently only building villagers from 1 town center, so very, very difficult position for Berserker to be in. He's trying to spam out those spearmen now, unupgraded spearmen, trying to take down these elephants with Chariot Archers to bolster them. Very, very tough for Berserker currently at this stage of the game. Now we're seeing the siege tower is going to be jumping onto the Migdol stronghold. Villagers trying to push these guys away. We see a couple of siege towers are falling very, very quickly here, and I don't think this Migdol stronghold will quite fall. More siege towers are rolling in here, but I think Mista knows what he's doing. He's going to be able to start putting these War Elephants onto the Migdol stronghold and keep pushing in, but now we see the Chariot Archers trying to pull back away from those slingers, trying to pick off some of these other units. Nice play from Berserker to keep getting those slingers in and keep microing them as best as he can. We see another siege tower is going to be falling, but look at this Migdol stronghold. The War Elephant does so much damage, and the Migdol stronghold does end up falling, but for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 siege towers to take that Migdol stronghold down there for Berserker, or for Mista there. 5 siege towers. That's 1,500 resources for 300 gold. So it's a win for Mista, but at what cost? And the big problem right now for Berserker is, simply put, his economy is absolutely shot for no real reason. And in the end of the day, that means that Mista takes the game. Mista too good with the macro, has plenty of villagers right now. If we check out the post game here and check out the economic situation, we can see 85 civilian units for Mista to 64 for Berserker. And if we check the civilian units out in this tab here, you can see it's very equal here, but Mista just skyrockets in front. There was an attempt to catch up here for Berserker, and he probably could have if he started really training those units and focusing on that. But like I said, after that Ancestors was pushed, just grab those 2 town centers. You're in a fantastic position. You can see that the units killed, lost is favoring Mista, but not by a lot. If we actually saw the resources lost, I don't think there's a tab for that, but resources lost, I reckon this would be fairly similar, because the Chariot Archers kind of cost, what, 140 resources, and the Slingers cost 80 resources. So it's not quite double, but it's not, you know what I mean? It's like a lot cheaper to make those trades for Berserker. So this is not exactly too much telling the truth here, but this is the story. It's just way too many resources for Mista. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.